I saw this illumination. There's a light out there that's following us. Comes an unidentified flying object.
They're here, they're parked on the side of the crater, they're watching us.
In the vast emptiness of space, strange encounters can't always be explained away. From shadowy figures floating outside the ISS to mysterious lights dancing across the lunar surface, astronauts have experienced eerie moments that NASA would rather dismiss or ignore. But what if these encounters point to something more? What if there are forces watching us, lurking just beyond our reach? Today we're diving into the most unsettling stories of astronauts coming face to face with the unknown and the cover-ups that followed. Get ready, because these stories will make you question what really awaits us in the darkness of space. Starting off in our number 10 spot, we have Apollo 16's mysterious footage. During the Apollo 16 mission, something bizarre was captured on film. A peculiar object hovering above the moon's surface, silently casting a shadow that seemed too strange to ignore. This wasn't just a blur or a flash, it was a well-defined shape that hovered with an almost deliberate stillness, looking nothing like any known spacecraft or equipment. When the astronauts reviewed the footage, the object's structure was uncanny, almost like it was observing from above. NASA quickly attributed it to a piece of the lunar module's equipment, brushing it off as nothing more than an ordinary part of the mission. But skeptics weren't so sure. The object's angles, the way it reflected light, and its stationary position seemed too purposeful. It was almost as if it had its own intelligence, waiting and watching. Could NASA really expect people to believe that such a bizarre, hovering anomaly was just debris? What was up there, and why did NASA appear so eager to silence questions about it? Some argue this was the moment NASA's cover-up culture really began. What other secrets from the vast emptiness of space are they really keeping from us? In our number 9 spot today, we have STS-80's circular UFOs. During shuttle mission STS-80, something truly unexplainable unfolded right outside the spacecraft. Cameras recorded several glowing orbs, perfectly round, almost mesmerizing, drifting through the darkness. But these weren't just random lights or reflections. These orbs moved in deliberate circular patterns around the shuttle, almost as if they were performing a carefully choreographed dance. The astronauts watched as the glowing spheres traced intricate paths, changing directions and speed in ways that suggested they were under intelligent control. Was this a cosmic greeting, or something far stranger? NASA quickly dismissed it as space debris, a familiar catch-all explanation, but how many pieces of space debris glide in perfectly synchronized formations, pulsing with an eerie glow? Those who have seen the footage argue that NASA was too quick to sweep it under the rug. What exactly were these orbs, and why did they seem so intent on circling the shuttle? In our number 8 spot today, we have Gordon Cooper's UFO sighting on Mercury-Atlas 9. On his Mercury-Atlas 9 mission, astronaut Gordon Cooper experienced something truly otherworldly.
We never could get as high or as fast as they were, so to really positively identify them, but they were metallic looking and saucer in shape.
As he orbited Earth, he noticed a greenish glow outside the window, a pulsating light moving steadily towards his spacecraft. Cooper, one of NASA's most experienced astronauts, knew the difference between atmospheric phenomena and an actual object in space, and this was no ordinary glimmer or reflection. He described it as a distinct, glowing object that hovered for a moment, almost observing him, before zipping off at an impossible speed. Cooper immediately reported the sighting, but back on Earth, NASA stayed eerily quiet. There were no follow-up reports, no debriefings, no press conferences, just a subtle shift in focus, as if the incident had never happened. For years, Cooper would go on to describe the event, firmly convinced he'd seen a genuine UFO, yet NASA seemed to push his story aside. Was this a case of an alien encounter brushed under the rug, or was NASA actively covering up evidence of visitors from beyond? In our number 7 spot today, we have the Buzz Aldrin UFO sighting. During the legendary Apollo 11 mission, as Buzz Aldrin and the crew made their historic journey to the moon, Aldrin caught sight of something that didn't belong, an object hovering nearby, shimmering in the blackness of space. As it moved alongside their spacecraft, just close enough to be unmistakable, yet unlike anything they had launched, Aldrin reported the sighting and NASA quickly dismissed it, chalking it up to part of the spacecraft itself. But for Aldrin, the explanation didn't quite add up. The object had a peculiar shape and movement different from the parts of the craft that he knew very well. Over the years, he hinted at his lingering doubts, openly wondering if they'd had an unexpected visitor along for their journey. Was it simply space debris, or was it something much more mysterious, possibly watching the Apollo team as they made their way to the moon? NASA's swift dismissal only fuels the intrigue. Why shut down the questions so fast, especially on a mission as historic as Apollo 11. In our number 6 spot today, we have the ISS Blue Flash incident. In 2021, a routine night aboard the ISS took a strange turn when astronauts spotted something startling on Earth's horizon, a brilliant blue flash that cut through the darkness, illuminating vast stretches of the planet below. But this wasn't any ordinary lightning storm. The flash was so intense, so vibrant, and appeared in a way none of the crew had ever seen before, even with their countless hours observing Earth's weather from space. As the glow faded, the astronauts exchanged uneasy glances. Was this a rare atmospheric phenomenon, or could it be something entirely unknown? NASA quickly assured the public that it was just lightning, but the astronauts weren't so convinced. They argued this flash was unique, unlike anything in Earth's atmosphere, as if it came from another force entirely. What did they really see that night? And if it wasn't just a storm, why was NASA so quick to dismiss it? In our number 5 spot today, we have the alien structures on the dark side of the moon. During their missions, several Apollo astronauts encountered something on the moon that still fuels mystery today. Strange structures on its far side, the so-called dark side where sunlight never reaches. As they orbited over the shadowed landscape, they spotted formations that didn't look natural, massive angular shapes that seemed to rise from the lunar dust. Some astronauts even snapped blurry images of what appeared to be towering geometric objects casting long shadows across the desolate terrain. Yet when they returned to Earth, NASA brushed off their accounts, calling the sightings optical illusions or just rocks. But the images told a different story, hinting at structures that seemed too deliberate to be dismissed so easily. Were these signs of an ancient civilization, or perhaps evidence of something or someone using the moon as a base? NASA's silence only added fuel to the theories, leaving people to wonder if the dark side of the moon hides secrets we are not meant to uncover. In our number 4 spot today, we have the strange lights during Apollo 17. On the final Apollo mission, Apollo 17, something strange was caught in the corners of the astronauts' vision. Bright, sporadic flashes of light, both in the vastness of space and directly on the moon's surface. These weren't subtle, passing glimmers, they were vivid and intense, illuminating parts of the lunar landscape in pulses that were impossible to ignore. NASA's official explanation? Cosmic rays interacting with the astronauts' retinas, causing them to see phantom lights. But the crew was skeptical. The flashes came too frequently, sometimes in quick succession, almost like signals, and the brightness was far stronger than any previous experience with cosmic rays. The lights seemed to pulse from specific points on the ground, as if something beneath the surface was trying to get their attention, or perhaps send a message. Was this the moon's way of signaling its secrets? Or was something else hidden in the lunar shadows too unsettling for NASA to reveal? In our number 3 spot today, we have the Cassidy Space Station UFO. When astronauts spot something unexpected floating outside the International Space Station, you can bet that it definitely raises eyebrows. This time, NASA astronaut Cassidy had his camera ready as a strange object drifted by the ISS on August August 19th, 2013, catching a glimmering, unidentified piece slowly floating against the blackness of space. NASA was quick to step in, stating that it wasn't a UFO, but rather an antenna cover that had come loose from the Zvezda service module, a piece that Russian ground controllers confirmed as part of the station's own hardware. The cover, NASA explained, is part of the low-gain WAL antennas used to guide ESA's unmanned cargo ships during docking. While NASA assured everyone it posed no threat to the station, the incident definitely still had people talking. Was it really just space debris, or could there be more to this routine hardware malfunction? In our number 2 spot today, we have the STS-75 Tether incident. During the 1996 STS-75 mission aboard the Space Shuttle Columbia, a routine experiment took a wild turn that would become one of NASA's most mysterious encounters. When a long tethered satellite unexpectedly broke loose and drifted away, cameras captured something even stranger. Dozens of glowing orbs began to appear, moving and swarming around the tether. These orbs weren't just floating aimlessly, they seemed to pulse with light, darting around in what looked like coordinated patterns. While NASA tried to brush it off, labeling the lights as space debris, the footage told a different story. These orbs had a strange consistency in size and shape, and their behavior looked oddly intentional, as if they were curious observers investigating the tether. Could this be an encounter with some form of intelligence, watching our astronauts from a distance, or was NASA hiding something deeper behind their very vague explanations? To this day, the STS-75 orbs remain a captivating mystery, fueling theories of alien watchers lurking in the vastness of space. And finally, in our number 1 spot today, we have the Apollo 14 Intuition experiment. During the Apollo 14 mission, astronaut Edgar Mitchell wasn't just focused on exploring the moon. He had a hidden agenda of his own. Mitchell secretly conducted experiments in telepathy, attempting to send and receive thoughts from space to Earth. But things took an even stranger turn when halfway through the mission, he reported feeling a powerful presence beside him. It was an inexplicable sensation, something he described as distinctly non-human, yet somehow aware of him, watching as he carried out his tasks. Mitchell, a scientist and a military man, wasn't one to jump to wild conclusions, but the feeling was so profound that he later spoke openly about it, suggesting he may have sensed an intelligence beyond our understanding. NASA, of course, stayed quiet on the whole matter, downplaying Mitchell's experiment and his eerie experience as nothing more than just plain old imagination. But for Mitchell, this was more than just a feeling. He'd sensed something that he believed was out there observing him. Could there really be other intelligences waiting for us in the depths of space, making their presence known only to those who dare to reach beyond Earth? Alright guys, that has been our list for today. Thanks so much for checking it out. I've been your host today, Olivia Kozolowski, and I'll see you again soon. Goodbye.